Hey guys, RJ here. That episode 7 of Westworld last night was absolutely ridiculous. It blew me away. Let's go ahead and start talking about it. Roll the intro. Episode 7 of Westworld is called Trompe, which, if you didn't know, is actually a French artist rendering technique that they basically take a photograph and they paint it so it looks realistic, and it basically creates an optical illusion to the viewer. And this title obviously has some semblance for this episode because we end up finding out, Teresa thinks she has power within the park. That's an illusion. We find out that Bernard, thinks he's real. He's not a host. And he even says in the episode, I seem to understand the hosts more than people nowadays. So that's an illusion. And then you have Dr. Ford, who I think is under the biggest illusion of all, which is that he actually has control over these hosts, when in actuality, I don't think that's going to last much longer. Besides those obvious choices, I definitely think you got to wrap William up in this too. He's under the illusion in real life that he has to pretend to be someone that he's not, and now that he's found Dolores, he doesn't have to pretend anymore. He even says that line in this episode. And then you also have Maeve, who is under the illusion that she can somehow get out of Westworld. And I know that her intellect has been turned up to, the utmost scale, but just after seeing Ford in this episode, I'm not sure anyone can escape Westworld. So we got a lot of revelations this week. Let's go over the top 5 real quick. So number 1, this one's easy, Bernard being a host. I actually haven't done a theory video yet just because I wasn't sure if he was or was not a host. I feel like that makes or breaks a lot of the Westworld theories that are out there. And now that it's confirmed that he is one, I can go forth and make some theory videos for you guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I definitely started to notice something last week because Ford keeps saying to Bernard, he keeps bringing up his dead son, and it's almost as if it's a command for him. And I definitely found that strange. And when Teresa is in the house, and one scene you see that the door isn't there, and then the next scene you see Teresa standing right next to it, I immediately knew at that point. Number 2, let us take a moment to mourn the loss of Teresa. She was a really good character in this show. I thought she added a pretty stern aspect to the show, kind of like my mom. And I thought the way that she died was really rough. That scene where she finally realizes that Ford is about to be the one to do her in, it made my stomach sink. And I just have to say, Anthony Hopkins as an evil character in this show is just way too creepy. Stop it. Number 3, the Board and Ford. The Board and Ford. The Board and Ford apparently just like to fuck with people. The whole thing of sending Teresa to Westworld was actually just all part of their plan. And apparently they've tried to pry information out of Ford before, but they're actually BFFs and there's no real conflict between them at all. It was definitely very confusing, and I'm wondering if they don't actually want anything from Ford, why did they send Teresa in the first place? Number 4, I gotta give it to my man, William locking that up, Dolores locking that down. That was a great scene where she walks away and William ends up following her. And obviously William is doing this because he wants to escape from his real life, and Dolores gives him that alternative. And Dolores is just trying to become someone else, and William's basically been there for her so far when she's going through this change that she doesn't understand. Number 5, Maeve has openly stated now that she is ready to break out of Westworld. And while a lot of us saw this coming, I think the thing that we're actually questioning is how she's going to do it. Because as we saw from this episode, Ford has people everywhere. You can't trust anybody. Those 2 lab techs could be hosts for all we know. And speaking of those 2, if they aren't hosts or some, evil plot by Ford trying to catch Maeve in the act or something, they're definitely going to die. They're both going to be fodder food for when Maeve escapes, and I'm totally fine with it because neither of them really draws my interest all that much. This episode was pretty action-packed, and the funny moments were pretty far and few between. I do have to say that the moment when Teresa walks into Charlotte Hale's room and she's basically screwing Hector from Westworld, it's so funny, just the way Teresa acts to, hey, can I come back later? Hey, do you need me to leave? Hey. And each time Hale just awkwardly says, nope, just stay. Don't worry about it. We ended up learning a lot of new information from this episode. The Board and Ford are the evil guys of the show right now. Whatever experiment that they keep talking about that's so important, that's clearly at their main agenda right now, and we don't know what that is yet, so definitely theory video. But there was a lot of good action here, and that ending made me tear up. So, guys, I think something to keep in mind moving forward as we watch the next episodes unfold is Bernard. He is going to end up being the key to this season, in my opinion. And just because he has so much access to Ford himself, and as we saw in this episode, Ford kind of trusts him implicitly, this kind of gives Bernard a little bit of an advantage where he might actually be able to sneak up on Ford or do something to him that others, because he has so many hosts around him all the time, backing in at his call to protect his life. He reached out and grabbed the man in black when they were at that bar without even saying anything. I think Ford's pretty much untouchable at this point from normal human being standpoint. But I think someone like Bernard, who's close to him, could actually get close enough to do something about it. And another character that I think is going to play a really important role in his downfall is definitely going to be Elsie, who went missing last week. But I love her, and she better not be dead yet. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts down below on this week's episode 7. Follow us on social media if you want, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. That really helps us out. And until next time, see you soon.